My boyfriend said, "Love can wait, but friendship can't. They'll be here after you." I packed my bags that night without another word. When he and his squad showed up at my new place days later, he didn't expect me to answer the door with a machete in one hand and his phone in the other. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how I went from trusting the wrong person to becoming someone I barely recognize, and why I'm still looking over my shoulder 3 months later. His name was Marcus, and he had this way of making you feel like the center of the universe when he wanted something. 6 feet tall, gorgeous smile, those dark eyes that seemed to see right through you. We'd been together 8 months when everything went sideways, and I thought I knew him. I thought I knew what love looked like. I was so wrong it's almost funny. Almost. The red flags started small. Marcus had this tight group of friends, Derek, Javi, and Tomas, and they were always around. I mean always. Date nights became group hangouts. Romantic dinners became pizza parties with the guys. When I suggested we spend some time alone, just the two of us, Marcus would get this look. Like I was being selfish. "Babe, these are my brothers," he'd say, pulling me close but somehow making me feel smaller. "They were here before you, and they'll be here after you. That's just reality." The first time he said it, I laughed it off. The third time, my stomach twisted. By the 10th time, I realized he meant it as a threat. But the night everything changed wasn't about his friends. It was about mine. I'd planned a birthday dinner for my best friend Sarah. Just us girls, me, Sarah, Emma, and Kat. We'd booked this cute little restaurant downtown, made reservations weeks in advance. I was so excited to have a night without Marcus's crew hovering around, making inside jokes and treating me like an outsider in my own relationship. 2 hours before we were supposed to leave, Marcus cornered me in the bathroom while I was doing my makeup. "Change of plans," he said, leaning against the doorframe like he owned the place. Which, technically, he did. It was his apartment. Derek's having some drama with his ex. He needs the guys tonight. I set down my mascara and turned to face him. "What does that have to do with me? We're all going to be here. Pizza, beer, probably gonna be a late night." He shrugged like it was no big deal. "You should cancel dinner." "Cancel?" The word came out sharper than I intended. "Marcus, this is Sarah's birthday. I've been planning this for weeks. And Derek's been my best friend for 10 years. His voice got that edge it always did when I pushed back. "Love can wait, but friendship can't. They'll be here after you." There it was. That phrase that made my blood run cold every single time. I stared at him in the mirror, watching his reflection behind mine. He looked so casual, so sure of himself. Like he'd just told me the weather forecast instead of ranking me dead last in his life. "You know what?" I said, turning back to my makeup. "You're absolutely right." He blinked, clearly not expecting me to agree so easily. "Oh. Good. I'll order the pizzas." "No." I capped my mascara with more force than necessary. "You're right that they'll be here after me. So let me make this easy for everyone." I walked past him into the bedroom and pulled my suitcase out of the closet. Marcus followed, his confusion turning to alarm as I started throwing clothes into the bag. Whoa, what are you doing?" "Leaving." I didn't look at him. Couldn't look at him. If I looked at him, I might lose my nerve, and I needed to do this clean. "You've made your priorities pretty clear. I'm not going to keep pretending I'm okay being an option." "Elena, come on. You're being dramatic." I laughed, but it didn't sound like me. It sounded bitter and broken. "Dramatic? Marcus, you just told me to cancel my best friend's birthday dinner so I could sit around and watch you and your buddies drink beer and talk about Derek's relationship problems. And when I said no, you literally told me that your friends matter more than I do." "That's not what I said." "That's exactly what you said." I zipped up the suitcase and finally looked at him. He actually looked hurt, which would have been funny if it wasn't so infuriating. "And you know what? You were right. They will be here after me. Because I won't be here at all." I grabbed my purse, my keys, and my suitcase. Marcus was still standing there like a statue when I walked out the door. Sarah's birthday dinner was exactly what I needed. Good food, better friends, and 3 hours of not thinking about Marcus. I told the girls what happened, and they were appropriately outraged on my behalf. "Good for you," Emma said, raising her wine glass. "That guy was toxic." "So toxic," Kat agreed. "Remember when he made you leave book club early because the guys wanted to go see that stupid action movie?" I did remember. I remembered a lot of things I'd let slide because I thought that's what love looked like. Compromise. Sacrifice. Putting someone else's needs first. But love is supposed to be mutual, isn't it? After dinner, I drove to the extended stay hotel near the airport. It wasn't glamorous, but it was clean and quiet, and most importantly, it was mine. I sat on the bed and called my sister. "I left Marcus," I said as soon as she picked up. "Thank God," Lisa said without missing a beat. "I was wondering when you'd figure out he was garbage. You could have said something. Would you have listened?" She had a point. I probably wouldn't have. Sometimes you have to figure these things out yourself, even when everyone around you can see the truth clear as day. I spent the next few days looking at apartments and trying to figure out my next move. Marcus called and texted constantly. First angry, then apologetic, then angry again. I ignored all of it. I was done. By Thursday, I'd found a place. A little one-bedroom apartment in a complex across town. Nothing fancy, but it had good lighting and a security system, and most importantly, it was available immediately. I signed the lease that afternoon and spent Friday moving what little stuff I had. I was expecting the emotional breakdown to hit me, but it didn't. Instead, I felt light. Like I'd been holding my breath for months and could finally exhale. That feeling lasted exactly 3 days. Sunday evening, I was unpacking kitchen supplies when someone knocked on my door. Hard, aggressive knocks that made me jump and nearly drop the coffee mug in my hands. I looked through the peephole and my stomach dropped straight to my shoes. Marcus stood there with Derek, Javi, and Tomas behind him. All 4 of them looked wound up, angry. Marcus was holding something in his hand. It took me a second to realize it was his phone. They'd found me? I backed away from the door, my heart hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. How had they found me? I'd been careful. I hadn't told anyone where I was except Lisa, and she would never. The knocking started again, louder this time. "Elena." Marcus's voice was muffled by the door but still clear enough to make my skin crawl. "I know you're in there. We need to talk." "Go away, Marcus," I called back, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. "We have nothing to talk about. You have something that belongs to me." That made me pause. I looked around the apartment, trying to think of what he could possibly mean. I'd taken my clothes, my books, my personal stuff. I hadn't stolen anything. "I don't have anything of yours." "My phone, Elena." His voice was closer to the door now. "You took my phone." I blinked. Then I looked down at the coffee table where 2 phones sat side by side. Mine and... Oh. I must have grabbed the wrong phone when I left his apartment. They were the same model, same color case. In my emotional state, I picked up both phones without thinking. "I'll mail it to you," I said. "No." The door handle rattled like he was trying to open it. "We're talking about this now. You don't get to just disappear and keep my property." I said, "I'll mail it to you. Now leave, or I'm calling the police." There was silence for a long moment. Then I heard Derek's voice, low and urgent. "Dude, maybe we should just..." "No," Marcus cut him off. "She doesn't get to do this. She doesn't get to walk away and take my stuff and act like she's the victim here." My hands were shaking now. This wasn't the Marcus I thought I knew. This was someone else entirely. Someone angry and unpredictable and standing outside my door with 3 other men. I grabbed my phone, my actual phone, and started to dial 911. But then I heard something that made me freeze. The soft scrape of metal on metal. Like someone was trying to pick the lock. "Marcus, what are you doing?" That was Javi, sounding nervous. "Just getting my property back," Marcus replied. "She wants to play games? Fine. We'll play games." The scraping continued. I stared at the door, paralyzed. He was actually trying to break in? He was trying to break into my apartment. That's when something shifted inside me. The fear was still there, but underneath it was something else. Something that felt like molten metal in my chest. Rage. I set the phone down without dialing and walked to the kitchen. My knife block was still packed, but I'd unpacked my camping gear earlier, including the machete I use for clearing brush on hiking trails. I picked it up, testing the weight in my hand. It was sharp. I kept it sharp. The scraping at the door stopped. Then I heard Marcus's voice, triumphant, "Got it." The door started to open. I walked back to the living room, machete in one hand, Marcus's phone in the other. By the time he pushed the door fully open and stepped inside, I was standing right there waiting for him. The look on his face when he saw me was worth every second of terror I just experienced. Marcus froze in the doorway, his eyes locked on the machete. Behind him, I could see Derek, Javi, and Tomas backing away from the door. "Oh my." Derek started, then seemed to remember where he was. "Marcus, man, this is crazy. Let's just go." "You wanted your phone?" I said, holding it up. My voice was eerily calm. "Here's your phone." I tossed it to him. He caught it reflexively, never taking his eyes off the blade in my other hand. "You broke into my apartment, Marcus." I used my key." His voice cracked slightly. "You took my phone." "I accidentally grabbed the wrong phone." "There's a difference." I took a step forward, and all four of them took a step back. "You committed breaking and entering. Over a phone I was going to mail back to you." "Elena, put the knife down." Marcus was trying to sound authoritative, but I could hear the fear underneath. "You're scaring everyone." "Good." I smiled, and I could see him flinch. "You should be scared. You just broke into a woman's apartment with 3 other men. That's terrifying behavior, Marcus. That's predator behavior." "I'm not a predator." "Then why are you here?" My voice was getting louder now, all that calm evaporating. "Why didn't you just ask for the phone back like a normal person? Why did you track down where I live and show up with backup and break into my home?" He didn't have an answer for that. None of them did. "Get out," I said. "All of you. Get out of my apartment and don't come back." "Elena, get out." They scrambled backward so fast that Tomas actually tripped over his own feet. Marcus was the last to leave, and he paused in the doorway like he wanted to say something. "Don't," I said, raising the machete slightly. "Just don't." He left. I slammed the door behind them and immediately flipped the deadbolt. Then I slid the chain lock. Then I grabbed a chair from the kitchen table and wedged it under the door handle. Only then did I allow myself to shake. I called the police after they left, but honestly, I didn't expect much to come of it. And I was right. The responding officer was polite but basically useless. "You said he used a key?" Officer Martinez asked, pen poised over his notepad. "He picked the lock. I heard him doing it." "But you gave him a key when you lived together?" "No, I never gave him a key to this apartment. I just moved in 3 days ago." She made a note, but I could tell she wasn't really taking it seriously. "Did he threaten you directly?" "He broke into my apartment with 3 other men." "But did he say he was going to hurt you?" I stared at her. "Officer, if 4 men broke into your home in the middle of the night, would you wait for them to verbally threaten you before you felt threatened?" She had the decency to look slightly embarrassed. "I understand your concern, ma'am. But without direct threats or evidence of attempted violence, this is more of a civil matter. I can make a report, but nothing would happen." I knew it, and she knew it, and we both knew that I knew it. After she left, I called the locksmith. He came out that night, cost me double for the emergency call, but it was worth it. New locks, new keys, new sense of security. Sort of. I also called my sister. "I'm coming over," Lisa said as soon as I finished telling her what happened. "You don't have to, Elena. 4 men broke into your apartment. I'm coming over." She showed up 20 minutes later with a baseball bat, a bottle of wine, and a fierce expression that reminded me why I'd always looked up to my big sister growing up. "Show me the machete," she said. I brought it out from the bedroom where I'd stashed it. Lisa hefted it, testing the balance. "Good weight. Sharp edge." She looked at me approvingly. "You did good, little sister. Most people freeze up in situations like that." I thought I was going to freeze up. But then I just didn't. "That's because you're stronger than you think you are." She set the machete down on the coffee table. "But we're not taking any chances. I'm staying tonight, and tomorrow we're going shopping." "Shopping?" "Security cameras. Motion sensor lights. Maybe a big dog." She grinned, but there was nothing funny about her eyes. "And we're filing a restraining order first thing Monday morning." The restraining order was easier to get than I'd expected. Apparently, breaking and entering with multiple accomplices was the kind of escalation that family court judges took seriously. Who knew? Marcus was served the papers at work, which I admit gave me a small thrill of satisfaction. The order prohibited him from coming within 500 feet of me, my home, or my workplace. It also specifically named Derek, Javi, and Tomas as associated parties who were not to contact me either. For a few weeks, everything was quiet. I started to relax. I went back to my normal routine: work, gym, dinner with friends. I even went on a date with a guy from my book club, though that didn't go anywhere. Turns out when you've recently had to threaten your ex-boyfriend with a machete, casual dating feels pretty surreal. But Marcus wasn't done with me. He was just getting creative. The messages started showing up about a month after the restraining order. Not from him directly, he was too smart for that. But from fake social media accounts, burner email addresses, even a couple of handwritten notes slipped under my apartment door. They all said basically the same thing: I'd overreacted. I was being dramatic. He just wanted to talk. He missed me. We could work this out if I'd just be reasonable. Each message was signed with the same phrase: love can wait, but friendship can't. I saved everything and reported it to the police, but again, they weren't much help. The messages weren't overtly threatening, and proving they came from Marcus was tricky since he was using fake accounts and anonymous methods. Just ignore them, Officer Martinez advised when I brought in the latest batch. Don't respond, don't engage. Most of the time, they get bored and move on. But Marcus didn't get bored. If anything, the messages got more frequent, more desperate. And then they started getting specific. One email contained a detailed description of my morning routine: what time I left for work, which route I took, where I stopped for coffee. Another included photos of my apartment building taken from different angles. A third had my work schedule, accurate down to which days I stayed late and which days I left early. He was watching me. Or having someone watch me. Either way, I was being stalked, and the police still seemed to think this was just a relationship drama that would blow over. That's when I decided to take matters into my own hands. The hunting store was in a strip mall on the outskirts of town, sandwiched between a nail salon and a discount tire shop. I'd never been in a place like that before, but the middle-aged woman behind the counter was surprisingly helpful. "First-time gun owner?" she asked after I explained what I was looking for. "Yes. I've got a stalker situation, and the police aren't being very helpful." Her expression immediately got serious. "Restraining order?" "Yes, but he's not paying attention to it." She nodded knowingly. "They never do. Restraining orders are just pieces of paper. They can't actually stop anyone from hurting you." She showed me several options, explaining the differences between revolvers and semi-automatics, discussing calibers and stopping power and ease of use. In the end, I went with a simple .38 revolver. Easy to use, hard to jam, effective at close range. "You'll want to take a safety course," she said as she rang up the sale. "And practice. Having a gun doesn't do you any good if you don't know how to use it properly." I took the course that weekend. Spent 3 hours learning about gun safety, proper handling, and basic marksmanship. Then I went to the shooting range twice a week for the next month until I could put 6 shots in a tight grouping at 15 feet. I hoped I'd never have to use it. But I wasn't going to be a victim again. The confrontation came sooner than I expected. It was a Thursday evening in early November. I was walking to my car after staying late at work when I saw him. Marcus was leaning against my car, arms crossed, looking like he'd been waiting for a while. My hand immediately went to the purse where I now kept the revolver. I'd gotten a concealed carry permit the week before, and I'd been carrying it everywhere since then. "Elena." He straightened up as I approached. "We need to talk." "No, we don't." I stopped about 10 feet away from him. "You're violating the restraining order just by being here. That restraining order is garbage, and you know it." He took a step toward me. "I never hurt you. I never threatened to hurt you. You completely overreacted to everything." "I overreacted?" I couldn't help but laugh. "Marcus, you broke into my apartment with 3 other men because I accidentally took your phone. In what universe is that not threatening behavior? I was getting my property back. You disappeared without a word and took my stuff. I left you. People are allowed to leave relationships, even when their boyfriends don't want them to. Without talking about it? Without even trying to work things out?" His voice was getting louder, more agitated. 8 months together, and you just walk away over one stupid fight? It wasn't one fight, Marcus. It was a pattern. You made it clear over and over again that I didn't matter as much as your friends. That I was temporary and they were permanent. So I made it easier for everyone and left. That's not what I meant. That's exactly what you meant. I was getting angry now, which was dangerous. Angry people make mistakes. But I couldn't help it. And you know what? You were right. Your friends are still there, aren't they? Derek and Javi and Tomas are still hanging out with you, still having your little boys' nights, still being your priorities. So what's the problem? You got exactly what you wanted. He was quiet for a long moment, and I thought maybe he was actually listening. Maybe he was finally understanding what he'd done. Then he said, "I want you back." And I realized he hadn't understood anything at all. "No," I said simply. "Elena, come on. I made some mistakes, okay? I can admit that. But we were good together. We could be good again." "No, Marcus. We couldn't. Because you haven't changed. You're still the same person who told me that love can wait but friendship can't. You're still the same person who broke into my apartment. You're still the same person who's been stalking me for the past month." His face went through several expressions in rapid succession: confusion, denial, and finally, anger. "I haven't been stalking you." "Really?" I pulled out my phone and started reading from my notes. October 15th, email describing my morning coffee routine. October 22nd, photos of my apartment building. October 28th, my work schedule including which days I stay late. Should I go on? That's not stalking, that's just what, Marcus? That's just normal ex-boyfriend behavior? That's just you being concerned about my well-being? He didn't answer. He was breathing hard, and I could see the anger building in his eyes. This was about to go bad. "I'm leaving now," I said, reaching into my purse. "Don't follow me." "You don't get to just walk away from me again," he said, and there was something in his voice that made my blood run cold. "Actually, I do." I pulled out the revolver and held it down at my side, not pointing it at him but making sure he could see it. "That's exactly what I get to do." Marcus's eyes went wide. "Elena, what the hell? I'm leaving now," I repeated. "You're going to stay right here and count to 100 before you move. If you follow me, if you come near me again, if you contact me in any way, I will shoot you. Do you understand?" He nodded quickly, all the fight gone out of him. Amazing how a gun could clarify someone's priorities so quickly. I walked to my car, keeping the revolver visible but not pointed at him. My hands were shaking, but I managed to get the keys in the ignition and start the engine. As I drove away, I saw Marcus in my rearview mirror. He was still standing exactly where I'd left him, staring after my car. I hoped that would be the end of it. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't be. I was right. 3 days later, Derek showed up at my apartment. I saw him through the peephole, standing there alone, hands in his pockets, looking nervous. I almost didn't answer. But something about his body language made me think this might be different from the last time. "What do you want, Derek?" I called through the door. "I want to apologize," he said. "For the other night. For all of it." "Okay. Apology accepted. You can leave now." "Elena, please. I need to tell you something. About Marcus." That made me pause. "What about Marcus?" He's not handling this well. The breakup, the restraining order, what happened in the parking lot Thursday night." Derek's voice was muffled by the door, but I could hear the concern in it. "I think he's having some kind of breakdown." Despite myself, I was curious. "What do you mean?" "He hasn't been to work in 3 days. He's not answering his phone. When I went to check on him yesterday, his apartment was trashed. Like, completely destroyed. Holes punched in the walls, furniture overturned, the whole place reeked like he'd been drinking for days." I felt a chill run down my spine. "Derek, why are you telling me this?" "Because I think he's going to do something stupid. And I think you might be in danger." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I'd been so focused on protecting myself from direct confrontation that I hadn't really considered what Marcus might do if he completely lost it. "What kind of something stupid?" I asked. "I don't know. But he keeps talking about how you humiliated him. How you made him look weak in front of his friends. And he's been asking weird questions about your routine, your apartment, your security setup." My blood turned to ice water. "What kind of questions?" "Like whether you have cameras. Whether your building has security. What time you come and go." Derek paused. "Elena, I think he's planning to break in again. But I don't think he's just looking to talk this time." I stepped back from the door, my mind racing. If Derek was right, if Marcus was really planning something violent, I needed to act fast. Derek, I need you to listen to me very carefully, I said. I need you to call the police right now and to tell them everything you just told me. I can't do that. Marcus is my friend. Marcus is dangerous. I cut him off. If you really think he's going to hurt me, then you need to do something about it. Because I'm not going to just sit here and wait for him to make his move. There was silence for a long moment. Then Derek said, "What are you going to do?" I looked around my apartment. At the security cameras Lisa had helped me install. At the motion sensor lights outside my windows. At the baseball bat leaning against the wall and the machete on the coffee table and the revolver in my purse. Whatever I have to do, I said. Derek must have called the police, because 2 officers showed up at my apartment an hour later. Not Officer Martinez this time, but 2 younger cops who actually seemed to take the situation seriously. We did a welfare check on Mr. Valdez, one of them told me. His apartment was concerning. Signs of a struggle or tantrum, significant property damage, empty alcohol bottles. He wasn't there, but based on what his friend told us and what we saw, we're taking this as a credible threat. What does that mean, exactly? It means we're going to increase patrols in this area. It means if you see him or anyone associated with him, you call 911 immediately. And it means you should consider staying somewhere else for a few days while we try to locate him. I thought about it, but ultimately decided against leaving. This was my home. I'd worked hard to build a life here, and I wasn't going to let Marcus chase me away from it. I'm staying, I told them. But I'm armed, and I know how to use it. The older cop nodded approvingly. Good. Just remember, if you have to use it to stop the threat. Don't hesitate, don't warn him, don't try to wound him. If the situation is bad enough that you need to draw your weapon, it's bad enough that you need to end the threat permanently. His words stayed with me long after they left. Marcus made his move 2 nights later. I was asleep when the motion sensor lights outside my bedroom window came on, flooding the room with harsh white light. I woke up instantly, every nerve in my body screaming danger. I grabbed the revolver from the nightstand and crept to the window. The apartment complex was quiet, but I could see a figure moving between the parked cars below. Male, medium build, wearing dark clothes and a baseball cap pulled low over his face. It could have been anyone. But I knew it was Marcus. I watched him circle the building, testing doors and windows on the ground floor. When he found them all locked, he looked up toward the second floor, toward my apartment. Even from that distance, even in the dim light, I could see the expression on his face. It was focused, determined, and completely without the warmth or humor I'd once thought I loved. This wasn't my ex-boyfriend having a breakdown. This was a predator hunting his prey. I grabbed my phone and called 911. This is Elena Reyes at 1247 Oak Gardens Drive, apartment 2B, I whispered. The subject of restraining order number 45891B is outside my building. He appears to be trying to break in. Units are on the way, ma'am. Are you in a secure location? For now. But he's trying to find a way up to my apartment. Stay on the line with me. Don't hang up. I watched Marcus disappear around the back of the building. A few minutes later, I heard a scraping sound coming from the direction of my patio door. My apartment was on the second floor, but the building was built into a hill. The back patio was only about 8 feet off the ground, and there was a dumpster right below it that someone determined could definitely use to climb up. Someone like Marcus. I crept through the apartment toward the back door, revolver in one hand, phone in the other. The scraping sound was getting louder. He's trying to climb up to my patio, I whispered to the 911 operator. Officers are 2 minutes out. Stay away from the doors and windows. But I couldn't just hide and hope the police got here in time. Not when I could hear Marcus grunting with effort as he pulled himself up onto my patio. I positioned myself in the hallway where I had a clear view of the patio door but plenty of cover if things went bad. Then I waited. The patio door handle rattled. Then there was a sharp crack as Marcus broke the glass near the lock. He's breaking in, I whispered to the 911 operator. Officers are 1 minute out. 1 minute might as well have been 1 hour. Marcus reached through the broken glass and unlocked the door. It slid open with a whisper of sound, and he stepped into my apartment. He was bigger than I remembered. Or maybe fear was making him seem bigger. He had something in his hand, it took me a second to realize it was a crowbar. Elena, He called out in a sing-song voice that made my skin crawl. I know you're here. Your car's in the parking lot. Time to stop playing games. I raised the revolver, steadying my grip with both hands the way I'd been taught at the range. The phone fell to the floor with a soft thud. Marcus heard it and turned toward the sound. When he saw me standing there with the gun pointed at his chest, his expression went through the same progression it had that night he'd broken in before. Confusion, then fear, then anger. But this time, the anger won. You think that scares me? He said, taking a step forward. You think I'm afraid of little Elena with her little gun? Don't come any closer, Marcus. Or what? You'll shoot me? He laughed, but there was nothing funny about it. You won't shoot me. You're not a killer, Elena. You're just a scared little girl playing dress-up. He took another step forward, raising the crowbar. I warned you, I said. Yeah? Well, love can wait, but friendship can't. And my friends think you need to learn some respect. He rushed me. I pulled the trigger. The sound was louder than I expected, even with all my practice at the range. Marcus stopped mid-charge, looking down at his chest in surprise. There was a spreading red stain on his dark shirt. He dropped the crowbar and took a stumbling step backward. You shot me, he said, like he couldn't quite believe it. I warned you, I repeated. Marcus looked at me, then at the blood on his hands, then back at me. For just a moment, his face went soft, and I saw a flash of the man I'd once thought I loved. Then his legs gave out, and he collapsed. I stood there for what felt like hours but was probably only seconds, watching him bleed on my living room floor. Part of me wanted to help him, to call an ambulance, to do something to save his life. But a bigger part of me, the part that remembered him breaking into my home, stalking me, threatening me, felt nothing but cold satisfaction. The police arrived 30 seconds later, followed by paramedics who managed to stabilize Marcus long enough to get him to the hospital. He survived, though he'll walk with a limp for the rest of his life. The shooting was ruled justified self-defense. Marcus was charged with breaking and entering, stalking, and violation of a restraining order. He took a plea deal and got 18 months in prison. Derek, Javi, and Tomas all testified that Marcus had been talking about teaching me a lesson for weeks. Apparently, his friendship with them wasn't as solid as he'd thought. When faced with the choice between loyalty and prison time, they chose to tell the truth. Marcus wrote me one letter from jail. It was 3 pages of self-pity and blame, ending with his familiar refrain, love can wait, but friendship can't. When I get out, my friends will still be here. What will you have? I never wrote back. But if I had, I would have told him that I have something he'll never understand, peace. That was 3 months ago. I'm still in the same apartment, though I've made some modifications. Better locks, better security system, and yes, I still carry the revolver. I probably always will. I go to therapy now, which helps with the nightmares and the hypervigilance and the complicated feelings about shooting someone I once cared about. Dr. Chen says it's normal to have mixed emotions about defending yourself against someone you once loved. That trauma and relief can coexist. That feeling guilty about not feeling guilty is also normal. Some days are better than others. Some days I wake up and forget, for just a moment, that any of this happened. Other days I check the locks 3 times before leaving for work and sleep with the revolver on the nightstand. But I'm alive. I'm free. And I'm stronger than I ever thought possible. Marcus gets out of prison in 11 months. His friends, Derek, Javi, and Tomas, haven't visited him once, according to the victim advocate who keeps me updated. Turns out friendship really can't wait when there are real consequences involved. I'm not afraid of him anymore. Not exactly. I'm cautious, I'm prepared, and I'm not the same naive woman who thought love meant sacrificing everything for someone else's priorities. But I'm not afraid. If he comes for me again when he gets out, I'll be ready. The restraining order will still be in effect. I'll still have the security system, the cameras, the gun. And I'll still remember what Dr. Chen told me during our first session: the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. But you're not the same person who was victimized before. You have agency now? You have power. She's right. I do have power. The power to set boundaries and enforce them. The power to walk away from people who don't value me. The power to protect myself when walking away isn't enough. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I'd stayed with Marcus. If I'd accepted his priorities and his dismissiveness and his belief that I was temporary while everything else in his life was permanent. I probably would have married him eventually. Had kids with him. Spent years trying to earn a place in his life that he'd already told me I could never have. Instead, I learned something valuable: when someone tells you who they are, believe them the first time. Marcus told me I didn't matter as much as his friends. He told me love could wait but friendship couldn't. He told me I was temporary. He was right about one thing, though. Love can wait. It waited while I learned to love myself enough to leave. It waited while I learned to set boundaries and enforce them. It waited while I figured out the difference between compromise and sacrifice, between partnership and surrender. And now it's waiting while I build a life where I'll never again have to choose between my own dignity and someone else's approval. I've been on a few dates since everything happened. Nothing serious yet, but I'm open to it. The difference is that now I know what red flags look like. I know what healthy relationships feel like. And I know that the right person will never make me feel like I have to earn my place in their life. The right person will know that love and friendship aren't competing priorities. That caring about someone means making space for all the important people in their life, not ranking them in order of importance. The right person will understand that love can wait is exactly backward. Love can't wait. Love is urgent and present and immediate. Love is showing up. Love is prioritizing. Love is making someone feel like they matter. Everything else can wait. As for Marcus's friends, the ones who were supposedly more important than I was, more permanent, more valuable, they've all moved on with their lives. Derek got married last month. Javi moved to another state for work. Tomas started dating someone new and spends all his time with her now. Funny how those eternal friendships turned out to be just as temporary as I was supposed to be. Funny how loyalty evaporated the moment there were real consequences. Funny how brotherhood didn't extend to visiting someone in prison or testifying on his behalf. But I guess that's what happens when your relationships are built on convenience rather than genuine care. When your bonds are forged in good times but never tested in bad ones. I don't hate Marcus anymore. I don't love him either. Mostly, I feel sorry for him. He threw away something real for something he thought was more valuable, and he ended up with nothing. He chose the temporary over the permanent and lost both. Me? I chose myself. And that choice led me to real friends, real peace, real strength. It led me to Lisa bringing me soup when I'm sick and Sarah remembering my birthday and Emma texting me funny memes when she knows I'm having a bad day. It led me to a life where I matter. Where my feelings are valid. Where my boundaries are respected. Where love doesn't have to wait for anything. So if you're reading this and recognizing yourself in my story, if someone in your life is telling you that you're not as important as their friends, their hobbies, their convenience, I want you to know something: they're telling you the truth about how they see you. Believe them. And then choose yourself instead. Pack your bags. Change your locks. Learn to use a machete if you have to. But choose yourself. Because you matter. Your feelings matter. Your boundaries matter. And love, real love, doesn't wait. It shows up. It prioritizes. It chooses you back. Everything else can wait.